Donald Trump and his actions, which do not appear to be consistent with the United States Constitution, takes unilateral offensive military action without seeking the approval of the United States Congress. The use of military force, which is offensive in nature, must be approved by the House and the Senate. That's according to the Constitution. It's not optional, Donald. It's not. The framers of the Constitution actually gave Congress the power to declare war for a reason, so the American people, through their elected representatives, would have the opportunity to debate the issue and make some decisions as it relates to what's in the best interest and the national security of the American people. Donald Trump and the administration chose to ignore the Constitution. And so they're going to have to come before Congress and explain their justification for an offensive military strike against Iran. Yes, we can never allow Iran to become a nuclear power. And of course, Israel has the right to defend itself and will support Israel's security in an ironclad manner. But the Trump administration intentionally decided to ignore the aggressive diplomacy that was available to it to try to address the Iranian nuclear threat and ignore the requirements of the Constitution, and now they've got to explain why. And we expect that justification, not just at the classified briefing behind closed doors tomorrow, but we expect them to explain to the American people the basis of the strike. What were the results in terms of actually thwarting Iran's capacity to become a nuclear power? And what are the Trump administration plans to avoid another potentially disastrous war in the Middle East where thousands of American lives are potentially at risk? What is your plan to avoid another foreign war? A promise you made, a promise that Donald Trump made to the American people last year. And just like every other major promise that he made on the campaign trail, he's failed to keep it.
Jeffries.
Thank you.
Mr. Leader, I know you just said it's not optional to use military force without consulting Congress, but what is your specific reaction to this afternoon's retaliatory strikes? Also, were you briefed this morning about the potential for retaliation? And lastly, have you been given any updated intelligence assessment about what damage may or may not have occurred from Saturday's strikes?
On Saturday at the highest levels, I communicated to the White House that it was my expectation that we would have a Gang of 8 classified briefing immediately to discuss the military strike on Iran, the potential for retaliation, as well as to probe the basis and justification for the offensive military action, and to understand the damage that was actually done and whether reports are accurate that Iran may have moved significant amounts of their enriched uranium in advance of the strike, which would effectively allow them to remain in a position to become a nuclear power. That Gang of 8 briefing has not taken place. So the question is, why not? What is the administration hiding from the elected representatives of the United States Congress if they're willing to stand behind their actions? Now, our thoughts, prayers, and our full support will continue to be behind the members of the United States military who are in harm's way throughout the Middle East. That's unwavering and unequivocal support for our service men and women in the military throughout the Middle East. That is different than making sure that the Trump administration in a democracy follows the law, follows the Constitution, and does what's in the best interest of the national security of the American people.